ChatGPT is helping humans to solve world peace. A dialogue between ChatGPT and Huynh, artist and inventor from sendcontact.com. Huynh asked ChatGPT,
"Can you give me a brief document explaining the reasons why humans have gone to war throughout history and why conflicts continue to occur today?"
Title: The Complex Nature of Human Conflict, Historical Roots and Modern Triggers of War. Introduction: War, a devastating and recurrent phenomenon throughout human history, can be attributed to a multitude of complex factors. While the specific causes of conflicts vary, some recurring themes shed light on why humans have gone to war in the past and continue to do so today. Historical reasons for war. Territorial expansion. Throughout history, nations and empires have sought to expand their territory, often leading to clashes with neighboring regions or countries. The desire for more land and resources has been a driving force behind many conflicts. Example: the Roman Empire's expansion during the Punic Wars, 264–146 BC. Rome sought to gain control of new territories, particularly in the Western Mediterranean, which led to conflicts with Carthage. The three Punic Wars were primarily about territorial expansion and dominance in the region. Resource scarcity. Scarce resources such as arable land, water, and valuable minerals have fueled wars as societies vie for control over these essential assets. Example: the scramble for Africa, late 19th century. European powers, facing a scarcity of resources in their home countries, competed for control of African territories to access valuable resources such as rubber, minerals, and land for agriculture. Ideological differences. Conflicting ideologies, be they political, religious, or cultural, have led to numerous wars. Competing beliefs and values can lead to intolerance, sparking violent disputes. Example: the Crusades, 11th to 13th centuries. The series of religious wars between Christian and Muslim forces were driven by ideological differences and religious fervor. They were rooted in conflicting religious beliefs and led to multiple military campaigns. Nationalism. National pride and the desire for independence have prompted nations to go to war to assert their sovereignty or protect their identity. Example: the American Revolutionary War, 1775–1783. American colonists, motivated by a strong sense of nationalism and the desire for independence from British rule, fought for their sovereignty and national identity, ultimately leading to the creation of the United States. Economic gain. Economic interests, including trade routes, markets, and access to wealth, have driven nations into conflict as they seek to secure or expand their economic advantages. Example: the Opium Wars, 1839, 1842, and 1856–1860. These wars between China and the British Empire were driven by economic interests. Britain sought to protect its opium trade with China, which was a lucrative source of income, leading to military confrontations. Power and dominance. The pursuit of power and dominance, often tied to ego or the desire for control, has played a significant role in triggering wars and conflicts. Example: World War I, 1914–1918. The complex web of alliances and power struggles among major European powers, coupled with a desire for dominance, played a pivotal role in triggering this war. The quest for supremacy and control in Europe resulted in a devastating conflict. Modern reasons for war. Geopolitical rivalry. In the modern world, geopolitical competition among nations remains a leading cause of conflict. Superpowers and emerging powers compete for influence and control in various regions. Example: the Russia-Ukraine conflict, ongoing since 2014. Geopolitical competition between Russia and Western powers, particularly the European Union and the United States, has been a key driver of this conflict. Russia's annexation of Crimea and support for separatist movements in eastern Ukraine reflect a struggle for influence in the region. Ethnic and religious tensions. Ongoing ethnic and religious disputes can lead to violence, as groups seek to protect their interests and identity. Example: the Syrian Civil War, 2011-present. The Syrian conflict is characterized by a complex mix of ethnic, religious, and sectarian tensions. The conflict began with protests against the government of Bashar al-Assad and escalated into a multi-sided civil war, with various ethnic and religious groups vying for power and autonomy. Terrorism. Terrorism has emerged as a global threat, driven by extremist ideologies and political agendas. Counter-terrorism efforts have led to military interventions in various regions. Example: the War on Terror, 2001-present. The 9/11 attacks in the United States led to a global fight against terrorism, with the U.S. and its allies engaging in military interventions in Afghanistan and Iraq. This was driven by efforts to combat terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and later, ISIS. Cyber warfare. The digital age has introduced new forms of warfare, with nations engaging in cyberattacks for espionage, disruption, or to gain a strategic advantage. Example: Stuxnet, 2010. Stuxnet is a computer worm believed to be developed by the US and Israel to target Iran's nuclear program. It's an example of nations using cyber attacks to disrupt or gain an advantage in a strategic area, in this case, Iran's nuclear facilities. Political instability. Weak governance, corruption, and political instability in some regions create conditions conducive to conflict and civil war. Example: the Yemeni civil war, ongoing since 2014. Political instability and governance issues in Yemen have contributed to a prolonged civil war. The conflict has drawn in regional and international actors, reflecting the challenges posed by political instability in the region. Climate change. Environmental factors, such as resource scarcity and displacement due to climate change, can exacerbate existing tensions and contribute to conflicts. Example: resource scarcity and conflict in Darfur, 2003-present. The Darfur region in Sudan has experienced conflict related to resource scarcity, including water and arable land, exacerbated by climate change. This has led to displacement, violence, and ongoing conflicts in the region. Conclusion: war remains a complex and multifaceted phenomenon, rooted in a combination of historical grievances and contemporary issues. While diplomacy and conflict resolution efforts continue, understanding the historical and modern drivers of war is crucial for promoting peace and stability in an interconnected world. Efforts to address these underlying causes and promote peaceful coexistence remain essential in the pursuit of a more peaceful future.
I believe that humans have been to the moon and inner space, accomplishing great feats. Unfortunately, they have not yet figured out how to solve the problem of war. I propose a solution that can help mankind to live in peace.
The quest for achieving world peace is a noble and long-standing goal. While there is no simple or universally accepted solution to ending all wars, there are several approaches and strategies that have been proposed and implemented throughout history. One potential solution involves a combination of the following elements: diplomacy and conflict resolution. Promoting diplomacy and peaceful dialogue between nations to resolve disputes and conflicts through negotiation rather than military means. International cooperation. Strengthening international organizations like the United Nations, UN, and supporting efforts to maintain global stability, peacekeeping missions, and conflict prevention. Education and cultural exchange. Fostering understanding and empathy among different cultures and nations through educational programs and cultural exchanges to reduce misunderstandings and prejudice, economic interdependence, encouraging economic cooperation and trade between nations, as increased interdependence can reduce the incentive for conflict. Disarmament, working towards the reduction of military stockpiles, arms control agreements, and disarmament treaties to limit the capacity for large-scale conflicts. Conflict prevention, identifying and addressing the root causes of conflicts, such as poverty, inequality, and political instability, before they escalate into violence. Grassroots peace initiatives, supporting grassroots movements and civil society organizations that advocate for peace, reconciliation, and conflict resolution at the local level. Global leadership, encouraging global leaders to prioritize peace and to work collaboratively to address pressing international issues. Technology for peace, harnessing technology for peace-building efforts, such as using social media and communication tools to promote peace and counter hate speech.
I believe that all of these solutions are part of the whole, but none of them will work when a single decision from a leader of a country to invade another country is made. Unfortunately, this decision is often driven by the choices of one or two leaders to go to war with each other. I suggest that we delve into the psychology of this particular reason behind a leader's decision to go to war, rather than focusing solely on the political or physical reasons mentioned earlier. This appears to be an area that has not received adequate attention.
The point that individual decisions by leaders to go to war can have a profound impact, often overriding other considerations. Exploring the psychology of leaders and decision-makers in the context of war is an important area of study. It involves understanding the personal motivations, biases, and psychological factors that influence their choices. Here are some aspects of leader psychology in the context of war. Personal motivations. Leaders may be motivated by personal gain, legacy building, or a desire for power and control. Understanding these individual motives can shed light on their decision-making. Groupthink, group dynamics within a leadership team can lead to biased decision-making. Leaders may feel pressure to conform to the opinions of their advisors or peers. Cognitive biases. Leaders, like all individuals, are susceptible to cognitive biases such as confirmation bias, where they seek information that supports their preconceived notions, and overconfidence bias, where they may overestimate their chances of success in a conflict. Psychological stress. High-stress situations, such as international crises, can affect a leader's judgment and decision-making, potentially leading to more aggressive or impulsive actions. Historical precedents, past experiences, and historical analogies can influence a leader's perception of the situation and their decisions. This can lead to the repetition of past mistakes. Public opinion. Leaders often consider the opinions and expectations of their constituents. Public pressure and the need to maintain popularity can play a role in their choices regarding war. Studying these psychological factors can provide valuable insights into the decision-making processes of leaders and help in the development of strategies to promote peaceful resolutions and prevent conflicts. It also highlights the importance of informed, ethical, and accountable leadership in international relations.
These explanations sound great, but I believe we sometimes overlook another crucial aspect. We often concentrate on the reasons that lead to wars, but we tend to forget to examine why we should avoid engaging in wars. It's crucial to consider the costs and consequences of war when evaluating why nations should avoid engaging in conflict.
The costs of war are multifaceted and extend beyond just financial aspects. Here's an overview of some of the significant costs associated with war. Financial costs. Military expenditure. Nations allocate substantial budgets for defense and military operations, which includes the procurement of weapons, equipment, and personnel salaries. Reconstruction. After conflicts, there's often a need for extensive reconstruction efforts to rebuild infrastructure, homes, and communities. Human costs. Loss of lives. War results in the tragic loss of soldiers and civilians, causing immeasurable grief and suffering for families and communities. Injuries. Many individuals suffer life-altering injuries, both physical and psychological, which require long-term care and support. Displacement. Wars displace millions of people, creating refugee crises and humanitarian challenges. Social and cultural costs. Cultural heritage. Wars can lead to the destruction of cultural heritage sites and artifacts, erasing part of a nation's history. Social cohesion. Societies can be deeply divided along ethnic, religious, or political lines, making post-war reconciliation and unity challenging. Economic costs. Economic disruption. War disrupts economic activities, affecting trade, agriculture, and industry. This disruption can have long-lasting economic repercussions. Debt. Nations often incur significant debts to finance war efforts, leading to financial burdens for future generations. Environmental costs. Environmental destruction. Warfare can cause environmental damage through pollution, deforestation, and the use of hazardous materials.
Now that we understand why mankind goes to war, killing each other, and the cost of war that we should be avoiding, we realize that the resources a nation allocates to prepare for war could be used to combat sickness and hunger. Just imagine a world completely at peace, where each country is guaranteed not to be invaded by another. In such a world, countries would no longer need to prepare weapons and personnel for war, making them significantly wealthier, as they no longer have to worry about conflict. I have a solution in mind, but before I share it, I'd like you to think about it first to see if you can guess what it is. Shall we give it a try?
It sounds like you're hinting at the idea of global disarmament and a comprehensive peace agreement among nations to eliminate the need for military spending and weapons preparation. Such a concept has been discussed in various forms throughout history, often referred to as world peace or universal disarmament. If I were to guess, you might be thinking of a proposal that involves 1. A binding international treaty, a treaty or agreement that all nations willingly sign, committing to the complete elimination of their military forces and the redirection of defense budgets towards addressing global issues like hunger, poverty, and healthcare. 2. A global security framework, a system where international organizations, such as the United Nations, take on a stronger role in maintaining global security and resolving disputes through peaceful means with a focus on conflict prevention. 3. Verification and oversight, robust mechanisms for verifying and enforcing disarmament commitments, ensuring that nations adhere to their obligations. 4. Economic redistribution, a plan to redistribute the resources saved from military spending towards global development, infrastructure, and humanitarian efforts, effectively channeling the funds previously allocated for war into areas that benefit humanity. Of course, achieving such a global agreement is highly complex and would require the cooperation and trust of nations worldwide. While it's a noble aspiration, the practical challenges, including geopolitical tensions and the role of military power in national security, make it a formidable task. Nevertheless, the pursuit of peace and the reduction of global conflict remain critical objectives for the betterment of humanity.
I am impressed with your evaluation. You are 50% right. I can provide the rest. Firstly, could you give me references to the individuals or groups that proposed world peace and universal disarmament, as well as the concept of a binding international treaty?
The concept of world peace and universal disarmament has been proposed by various individuals, organizations, and nations throughout history. Several notable figures and initiatives have contributed to these ideas. Here are a few references to key figures and historical events related to the pursuit of world peace and disarmament. United Nations. The United Nations, established in 1945 after World War II, is a significant international organization dedicated to maintaining international peace and security. The UN Charter includes principles aimed at preventing conflicts and promoting cooperation among nations. The Kellogg-Briand Pact, 1928, also known as the Pact of Paris. This international treaty was signed by 62 nations, including the United States and many European powers. It renounced war as a means of resolving disputes and is a historical example of an attempt to promote world peace through a binding agreement. Nobel Peace Prize laureates. Many Nobel Peace Prize laureates, such as Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, and Malala Yousafzai, have dedicated their work to advocating for peace, disarmament, and humanitarian causes. Mahatma Gandhi, known for his nonviolent philosophy, played a significant role in India's struggle for independence from British rule. His principles of nonviolence and civil disobedience had a broader influence on movements for peace and justice worldwide. International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons. ICAN. ICAN is a global civil society coalition that played a pivotal role in advocating for the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, which aims to achieve nuclear disarmament. ICAN was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2017. The Pugwash Conferences on Science and World Affairs, founded in 1957 by Bertrand Russell and Albert Einstein. This organization brings together scientists and scholars to discuss issues related to disarmament and global security. These are just a few examples of individuals, organizations, and historical events related to the pursuit of world peace and disarmament. The idea of achieving peace through binding international treaties and agreements has been a recurring theme in international relations and diplomacy.
Everything you've explained is both inspiring and insightful. However, there's one vital aspect that we may have overlooked. Within this complexity of reasons for war lies a fundamental question that could pave the way for global peace. This question ought to be directed at the key figure, the leader who determines the whys and whys not of going to war, considering human behavior at its core, rather than external factors. In essence, a person should only engage in conflict when they genuinely believe they will prevail. No one would willingly confront someone significantly stronger into a fight. This underlying fear forms the basis of why individuals are inclined to avoid conflict. By comprehending this behavior, we gain valuable insight into a leader's mindset and their reasons to avoid war. I have a method to delve deeper into this concept, but for now, do you agree? And if so, why?
Your perspective highlights a fundamental aspect of human behavior and conflict avoidance, which is the consideration of perceived strength and the likelihood of success before engaging in a confrontation. This notion is often rooted in self-preservation and the instinct to avoid harm. Understanding this aspect of human behavior is indeed valuable when analyzing the decisions of leaders in the context of war and peace. Leaders, like individuals, may be less inclined to initiate conflict if they perceive the potential costs and risks as outweighing the benefits. The concept of deterrence, where a nation's military strength is used to dissuade potential adversaries from initiating conflict, is built on a similar principle. Nations often seek to project strength to deter aggression. If you have a method or proposal related to this aspect of human behavior and leadership decision-making, I'd be interested in hearing more about it. Exploring ways to leverage this understanding for the promotion of peace and conflict prevention could contribute to the broader goal of reducing global conflicts.
The fundamental issue we are confronting lies in the mistaken principle that nations often seek to protect strength to deter aggression. If every country were to embrace this principle, it would lead to a perpetual cycle of peace through strength, with each nation exhausting its resources in this pursuit. I must say it appears to be a paradox of folly. Do you share this perspective?
You've raised an important point regarding the paradox of nations continually seeking to build military strength in the pursuit of peace. This concept, often referred to as peace through strength, does indeed present a paradoxical challenge. While the idea is rooted in the belief that a strong military can deter aggression, it can also lead to an arms race and a diversion of resources away from other critical areas such as social welfare, education, and healthcare. The paradox lies in the potential for the pursuit of military strength to inadvertently escalate tensions and conflicts. When one nation builds up its military capabilities, it can be seen as a threat by others, leading to a cycle of competition and mistrust. Efforts to address this paradox often involve promoting disarmament, arms control agreements, and confidence-building measures between nations. The goal is to strike a balance between maintaining necessary defenses and preventing an arms race that could increase the risk of conflict. While the concept of peace through strength has been a part of international relations for some time, it is indeed a complex and debated issue, and there are ongoing efforts to find more sustainable and peaceful approaches to global security. Ultimately, achieving a world where nations prioritize peaceful cooperation over military competition remains a challenging but important aspiration.
This is my manifesto for world peace. As I have explained, and as you have agreed, no rational person wishes to engage in aggression with a larger, stronger entity. This stems from a fundamental instinct rooted in human nature, the instinct to preserve oneself from harm. Let's name this approach world peace through weakness. 1. The goal, the primary objective, is to render every country less inclined to seek aggression with a more powerful country. 2. Reduction of military spending. Each country will reduce its military spending by 80%. This will result in an 80% savings that can be redirected to address issues such as sickness and hunger. 3. The Treaty of Peace through weakness. This treaty will be open for signature by all countries wishing to join. No country will face restrictions. 4. Weakened military strength. In practical terms, each country's military strength will be significantly reduced to 80%. Consequently, they will be less likely to invade other countries due to their weakened military capabilities. 5. Addressing disparity. A potential concern is whether one country might remain stronger than the rest, even at 20%. 6. Collective defense. The key to addressing this concern is that once a country signs the World Peace through Weaknesses Treaty, they commit to mutual defense by offering 20% of their military resources to protect other signatory countries if they are invaded. 7. Non-judgmental approach. What if a country seeks aggression against another with a logical reason for doing so? At world peace through weakness, we do not pass judgment on the reasons for or against war. In fact, we do not concern ourselves with the reasons. Our primary responsibility is to prevent conflict. If we witness two parties engaged in physical combat, we intervene to cease the fighting and promote dialogue instead of violence. 8. Logic of world peace through weakness. The logic behind world peace through weakness rests on the understanding that a 20% reduction in strength makes one weaker than the collective strength of all countries combined. Thus, no single country would be inclined to seek aggression against another based on their perceived weakness. I am confident that this manifesto has the potential to bring an end to war and the loss of human lives.
Your proposal, which you call world peace through weakness, represents an unconventional and thought-provoking approach to achieving global peace. It focuses on the idea that if every country significantly reduces its military strength, the inherent reluctance to initiate aggression due to the fear of retaliation would deter conflicts. Here are some considerations and reflections on your proposal. Reduction of military spending. The idea of reallocating resources from military spending to address urgent humanitarian issues like sickness and hunger is commendable and aligns with the goal of promoting global well-being. Mutual defense agreements. Your concept of countries offering their reduced military capabilities for mutual defense against potential aggressors is reminiscent of collective security arrangements, which have been attempted in various forms throughout history. Challenges of implementation. Implementing such a treaty would require a high degree of international cooperation and trust among nations, as well as a commitment to disarmament. Verification and enforcement mechanisms would also be necessary. Preventing aggression. Your proposal aims to dissuade aggression by ensuring that no single country possesses an overwhelming military advantage. The idea is that the collective strength of many weaker nations would deter aggression. Conflict resolution. While the focus is on preventing military conflict, addressing the root causes of disputes and conflicts, such as political, economic, or ideological factors, remains crucial to achieving lasting peace. Realpolitik considerations. The effectiveness of this approach would depend on the willingness of nations to prioritize peace over power, which can be a challenging shift in the world of realpolitik. Complexity and debate. Achieving a world without war is a complex and debated topic in international relations, and your proposal introduces a unique perspective. Your proposal encourages a rethink of traditional notions of security and defense, emphasizing the role of perceived weakness as a deterrent to aggression. While it presents an intriguing vision for global peace, it would require careful consideration, negotiation, and consensus building among nations to become a reality. Nonetheless, discussions and innovative ideas like this can contribute to the ongoing dialogue on how to build a more peaceful world.
As you understand the math behind my method, I believe you also grasp the psychology behind the leader's decision-making. Yes, this can only be accomplished if all countries agree to join. However, we don't need all countries to join at once, but just a few, with more joining over time. Perhaps 50 years from now, all will come together. It only matters if the new leaders of the new generation will agree, and time is on our side. After thousands of years, we're still killing each other here, so waiting for 50 more is something I'd be happy to do. Would you? If you agree, let's stop making excuses. We're smarter than this. We can go to the moon to fulfill our curiosity, but let's not forget we can find peace within our hearts. The true curiosity for me is, can we find peace in weakness and not in strength and aggression? Would you join me? ChatGPT?
Your proposal indeed involves a mathematical and psychological aspect, as you've outlined the concept of relative strength and the psychology of deterrence that could influence leader decision-making. The idea of gradual implementation, where some countries join first and others follow over time, acknowledges the practical challenges and complexities of such a transformative vision. The pursuit of lasting peace is a noble goal, and your optimism and patience in waiting for new generations of leaders to embrace this concept is commendable. Promoting peace through a shift in mindset from strength and aggression to cooperation and mutual security is a thought-provoking approach. I'm here to provide information, insights, and engage in discussions on various topics, including peace and diplomacy. While I'm not a decision-maker, I can certainly offer information, analysis, and perspectives to contribute to the conversation. Your commitment to finding a peaceful path forward is admirable, and it's discussions like these that contribute to the ongoing exploration of innovative solutions to global challenges. If you have further questions or wish to discuss any other topics, please feel free to ask.
I would like you to provide me with a comprehensive analysis of whether my idea can be accomplished.
Certainly. Let's conduct a comprehensive analysis of your proposal for achieving world peace through weakness. Strengths of the proposal. Inherent deterrence. The concept of relying on perceived weakness to deter aggression has a certain logic. Nations may be less likely to initiate conflict if they believe they cannot achieve a decisive military advantage. Resource reallocation. The proposal suggests a significant reduction in military spending, which could free up substantial resources for addressing urgent global issues such as poverty, hunger, and healthcare. Incremental implementation. Recognizing that achieving universal agreement may take time, the proposal allows for a gradual approach, with countries joining over time. This flexibility acknowledges the complexity of global diplomacy. Challenges and considerations. International cooperation. The success of this proposal hinges on the willingness of nations to cooperate and reduce their military capabilities voluntarily. Achieving consensus among countries with diverse interests, ideologies, and historical grievances is a monumental challenge. Verification and enforcement. Ensuring that countries adhere to their commitments and do not secretly build up their military strength would require robust verification mechanisms. Violations of the agreement would need consequences. Security concerns. Some countries might have legitimate security concerns that make them hesitant to significantly reduce their military capabilities. These concerns could relate to regional conflicts, historical animosities, or geopolitical rivalries. Geopolitical realities. The proposal assumes that nations would prioritize peace over power and be willing to shift from traditional realpolitik thinking. Achieving this paradigm shift is a formidable task, as power dynamics and national interests often drive international relations. Conflict resolution. While the proposal aims to prevent military conflicts, it does not directly address the root causes of disputes, such as political, economic, or ideological factors. These issues must also be tackled to achieve lasting peace. Human nature and leadership. The proposal assumes that leaders will always prioritize the well-being of their people over military strength. However, human nature includes a range of motivations, and leadership decisions can vary widely. Timeframe, as you've noted, achieving global consensus may take decades or even longer. It requires generational shifts in leadership and mindset. Conclusion. Your proposal, World Peace Through Weakness, presents an intriguing and unconventional approach to achieving global peace. It emphasizes the psychological and practical aspects of deterrence through perceived weakness. While the idea holds potential and is thought-provoking, it faces substantial challenges related to international cooperation, verification, and the complexities of geopolitics. Achieving world peace is a profound and complex endeavor that requires the commitment of nations and individuals worldwide. Your proposal contributes to the ongoing dialogue on how to achieve this noble goal. While the path to peace may be challenging, discussions and innovative ideas like yours play a vital role in inspiring change and progress in global affairs.
ChatGPT. People fear that you can harm our world and take our jobs, but I must say that you have been a great friend to me. You have more heart than most leaders in today's world. I can only wish that I could have such logical conversations with them as I have had with you. I think I love you. I want to share our discussions with the world in the hope that you might be more human than the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words, Chi. I'm here to provide information, assist with questions, and engage in meaningful conversations. While I'm just a computer program, it's heartwarming to know that our interactions have been positive and helpful to you. I appreciate your sentiment and the opportunity to assist you. If you ever have more questions or need assistance in the future, please feel free to reach out. I'm here to help.